Jessica says, what is the best way to establish a relationship with a deity? Ah, great question, Jessica. I love this question. So, when we want to establish a relationship with a spirit, and I consider deities to be spirits, they're different spirits. We have spirits of the land and the house where we are. We have lower world spirits. We have upper world spirits. So, those upper world spirits are our deities, so what people consider to be deities. Whatever, and then we have ancestors who are, also in that mix as well. So whenever we want to establish a relationship with any spirit, whether it's a deity, our ancestors, maybe we get a little more of a pass because they are our ancestors, elementals, mythological creatures, whatever we're working with, right, in the spirit realm. The first thing to do is to establish that relationship with the deity. Here's the thing I take, kind of have a little analogy here. If you have, would you walk up to a person on the street and say, hey, give me $100? No way, right? Person would be like, what are you holding me up? No, right? So we don't want to go to a deity or a spirit and the first thing out of our mouth is, hey, do this thing for me, right? Do this thing for me. It is, honestly, it's freaking rude, right? Don't do it. But you want to establish that relationship. So, and even with our ancestors, who I kind of think, well, you get a little pass with your ancestors because they already know you. But, do you only go visit grandma when you need to borrow $20? That's also rude. You don't just go ask, grandma is not an ATM, right? You don't want to go, just to hang around with them because you're asking them for a favor. So the very first thing you need to do is to honor those spirits. So if you honor those spirits, then when you need that $100 or when you need that favor or that extra protection or whatever it is that they're going to offer you, they're probably more likely to do it because you already have been showing up. You've already built a relationship with them. So how do we build those relationships? Well, one of the easiest ways is, of course, just learning about the spirit, right? So if you have a deity, a special deity that you're working with, let's say you're working with the goddess Artemis, right? Artemis or Diana in Roman mythology, Artemis in Greek mythology. So learn about Artemis. What are her stories? What are her special features? What is she good at? What does she learn about her? Where did she start? Where were her priestesses? I mean, some deities we don't have very much information on, but you can find some information. But you can also go on vision journeys where you go into meditative space and you imagine yourself meeting that spirit and talking with them or walking with them or listening to them, right? If you want, there's a great free spirit guide meditation that I have up on the Parlor of Wonders. So go to Parlor of Wonders, go to media and look for the spirit guide meditation and use that meditation. It can be used for deities, for ancestors, for any spirit that you want to meet. And it's just a little guided meditation. It's like 10 or 12 minutes long where you go to a sacred place and you meet this spirit, right? So that can be another way to honor that spirit. Certainly, if you have the ability in your home to set up an altar to that spirit, then set up an altar to the spirit. What would be on that altar? Well, in a generic spirit altar, will have an image of the spirit. So that could be a photograph, it could be a drawing, it could be artwork, it could be a sculpture, it could be a candle. A lot of people use, like, for example, the Domovik candle, which is the house spirit, the Ukrainian house spirit candle. They use that to connect to ancestors, and they just use it like a little statue. They don't ever burn it, or they save it for when, they're going to do a spell and they want to invite the help of the Domovik, right? So you can have a candle, you can have a statue, you can have a picture, you can have a drawing, you can have artwork, whatever. That would be the main focal point. And then maybe you want to bring in some offerings that are appropriate. So like if we were working, for example, with Artemis, you might have an offering like something from the forest, right? Because she likes to go hunting in the forest. So we might bring in some leaves and some branches that remind her of the forest. Or we might bring in a little image of a deer or a dog, because she had hunting dogs and she had stags as one of her beautiful attributes. So we can find these images or things that we can make as offerings. Maybe you find an antler in the woods and you can bring that antler onto that offering table. You can also offer libations. You can offer some kind of drink. I often leave on my ancestor altar and my spirit altars a little glass of vodka, and you watch as that vodka evaporates. Obviously it's evaporating, but it's like the spirits are drinking the energy of that alcohol that they can have and enjoy and have a little party. You could leave a little bit of food. You could leave some, Artemis and Diana, you could leave some nuts from the forest, right? So there's, all those things you can leave as offerings. You can have a candle on your altar, but if you are burning a candle, I recommend for spirit altars that you work with a vigil candle. Like this is an ongoing candle that you're using as a gift to the spirit. You're offering them this light, this wax, this candle that you're offering up to them. So that can be a beautiful thing to do, and it's long lasting. So you burn it a little bit every day while you're awake, while you're at home, and then snuff it out when it's time to say goodnight, or you leave the house and relight it when you come back, right? So those are all things that you can do to show this spirit. You can make things for your spirit. I have a Baba Yaga altar, and on my Baba Yaga altar, I have yarn that I have spun by hand because it was a gift from me. It was a sacrifice to make this spun yarn. And so this is a wonderful offering. Something that you make by hand is always a wonderful offering, well received. And it's appropriate for Baba Yaga, who's a spinner, weaver, folk saint. So folk spirit. So, this is another appropriate thing. So find out what they like, leave offerings of that. Then when you need some help, you can call on them because you've already established a relationship. I think a relationship with anybody should be 90% you giving and 10% you asking. So make sure you're giving, you're honoring, you're decorating, you're making a space. Now, somebody might say, "Oh, Madam Pamita, I can't have an altar in my house. What will people say?" It doesn't have to look like an altar, right? It could be a little shelf, a little nook, a windowsill, a little side table, and it can just have a picture, a statue, a couple of things on it, and nobody need know that it's an altar, really. So even if you have to do it secretively, you can do it secretively, right? If you need to do it really secretively, you can get a cigar box and make a little altar in a cigar box. And if you need to close it, you can close it and open it when you're doing it, or have another little box of some kind. You can do that as well. So that's all great ways. Then also too, let's say Artemis Diana is your deity that you're working with. Go hang out in the forest, right? Her place that she likes to hang out. Spirits often have a special location that they like and special location that they're associated with. If you're working with, Atargatis, the mermaid saint, go hang out by the ocean, right? Or have pictures of the ocean. Aphrodite, have shells and sand and ocean. You can go, you can just learn and research, and then go to those places, leave offerings that are biodegradable and appropriate at these places, and make altars and read about them, learn about them. It's all good, right? So good.